Justice is served. What the FBI just announced has Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch sweating bullets. Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch thought that they were off the hook for their tarmac meeting in the middle of Hillary Clinton's email trial. The meeting was obviously controversial, especially since Loretta Lynch, then the Attorney General and overseeing Hillary Clinton's trial/investigation, was approached by Bill Clinton in the middle of the trial. Why else would Bill Clinton have a private, closed-door meeting with the Attorney General? And it happens that the FBI believes that there is more to this meeting than originally was found. Sean Hannity shared the news that the ACLJ confirmed that the FBI was reopening a FOIA request into the meeting between Lynch and Bill Clinton. Sean Hannity's tweet: the ACLJ is reporting that the FBI is reopening its FOIA request into the Clinton-Lynch tarmac meeting. More at 10 p.m. #Hannity. Finally, our country could finally know what was so urgent that a former president thought he should meet with the person in charge of his wife's investigation for. The ACLJ reports, we just delivered 413 pages of documents on the clandestine Clinton-Lynch meeting to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. This timeline and these documents include evidence of Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch's alias email account, numerous redactions including main talking points in circumvention of FOIA, Comey-led FBI lies on the existence of requested documents, DOJ media collusion, a White House connection, and revelations that Obama loyalists are now investigating themselves. This could finally shed light into the shady dealings of the Clintons that they have been hiding for years. If Hillary is still able to evade justice for her crimes, at least Americans can see for certain just how crooked she is. We already know that. These documents could shut down Hillary Clinton's political future after rumors have been rampant that she is planning on running again in 2020. The Clintons have been dealing in the dark for too long and getting away with it. It is high time that Americans should be able to see just how crooked they truly are. Oh, we know. Now it's just that we have to prove it legally in court because they've been evading and hiding things and not coming forward with any information and just, having Comey follow Lynch's orders. It runs deep. It runs deep. We know how crooked these people are. They're not fooling anybody except the snowflakes. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.
And a self-described social change agent and agitator. At a recent rally in Washington, D.C., he said that President Trump's recently released budget proposal is a plot for, quote, ethnic cleansing. Watch.
This budget, if I can be honest with you, it is an attempt to implement ethnic cleansing in this nation from people of color, but also poor white folk from whom the services being cut will be impacted the most. President Trump and his surrogates have used dog whistle language to speak about race in negative ways and create fear in the hearts of Americans. Here is the reality. Many poor black families and brown families and Asian families and indigenous families will be devastated by this budget. So we say to Donald Trump, hands off our families, hands off our health care, hands off this budget, hands off this nation, hands off.
Bishop Royster joins us in the studio. Bishop, thanks for coming on.
Tucker, thanks for having me on today.
I was really offended that you said that, and here's why.
Sure.
You can disagree with the policies. I may disagree with the policies.
Sure.
But you were claiming you knew the motive when you don't. you're using your office, which is as a clergyman that commands respect by definition,
Sure.
to scare the hell out of people on the basis of something you don't know is true. And that's the definition of demagoguery.
So, Tucker, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to come in here and share and talk about what happened there. I think what we found in this particular budget that Donald Trump is presenting to America is offensive. I find that the budget that he has presented to us, to the American people, to be absolutely abysmal. I find the budget that he presented to America to be an absolute sin. You know, the judgment of a nation is not based on its military might. It's not based on how well it did its borders. It's based on how it took care of its least, the last, the lost, the struggling. And based on the budget that Donald Trump just presented to us just last week, he has basically had contempt for people of color. He has had contempt for people who are poor. He has had contempt for people who struggle deeply. He has had contempt for anybody that doesn't look like him.
You know, I don't want to be in the position of defending a budget that I don't like in a lot of ways. But it's outrageous for you to say he has contempt when you don't know that. You don't know that. It's unknowable. We can evaluate whether the policies work or not, whether we agree with them or not. We can't evaluate what he thinks because we don't know. And you cast this in racial terms.
It is racial.
How is it racial?
It's absolutely racial.
Doesn't this affect poor white people, too?
Absolutely.
Then how's it racial?
Tucker, if we were to go back and take a look at Donald Trump as candidate up through all the actions Donald Trump has made in the beginning of his presidency, the actions that he has taken are very much racially motivated. They're very much motivated by faith. They're very much motivated by trying to make America white again, not just make America great again.
How the hell do you look at this budget and say it's ethnic cleansing?
It is ethnic cleansing. People believe you. It is. We're talking about taking $1.4 trillion out of Medicaid, making it so that people who struggle the deepest in this country are not going to be able to get the health care that they need. We're talking about taking $200 billion. Let me finish. They're talking about taking $200 billion away from SNAP benefits that are going to be able to help feed people in this country. We're talking about taking away more money.
Hold on, slow down. I'm asking something very specific. Why is it ethnic? Because the life expectancy for black Americans is not in decline. It is in decline for working class white Americans. So presumably it hurts them worse.
But that number is still higher for white folk than it is for black folk in this country. No. The reality is that this is racial. The dog whistle language that Donald Trump and his surrogates used while they were on the campaign trail is the same language that they're using to try to get this budget passed. It's the same language that they're trying to use to be able to try to cut these programs. They're using dog whistle language that goes back to Nixon and when he was using the Southern strategy, when Ronald Reagan was using that language. This is a fact-based conversation. When we look at the programs that are being cut, they are going to cut people of color. They're going to cut poor white people, and the poor white folk out there are being sold a bill of lies that this budget is going to help them. It's not going to help. You're trying to
overwhelm me with the force of your voice. I want to throw some numbers at you. Under the 8 years of the Obama administration, the black labor force participation rate dropped more than 2%. Black home ownership down 9%.
Sure.
Black Americans below the poverty line up 1.5%. Real median income for black families down 1.5%, et cetera, et cetera. Gun deaths up. Number of black executives dropped 50%, et cetera, et cetera. So you could look at that data set and say that's ethnic cleansing. That would be insane.
No, first of all, the reason that most of those things happened had nothing to do with Barack Obama's leadership. It had to do with what happened the final year of George Bush's leadership when we began to fall into a recession. And that's when we began to see black wealth.
Can I ask you something? I know where this argument's going to go.
That's where we're going to go.
Okay, you'll defend anything. You're standing in front of an abortion sign in a clerical collar. So you'll defend anything.
Let me tell you where I'm at right now.
Let me ask you a question. Will you stop saying things that are irresponsible, like the term ethnic cleansing, because you're scaring the hell out of people and making it impossible to have a rational conversation? Will you please stop doing that?
No, I'm absolutely not, because I'm not going to do it until we get an absolutely reasonable budget that is not targeting people who suffer the deepest in this country,
but why not argue against the budget?
Creating a budget that puts profits over people and that really builds itself off the misery of dark-skinned bodies in this country. Why don't you say specific, rather than getting to motive and other unknowable things, why don't you say, look, if the SNAP program, for example, which you support, and I think it's fair to say we shouldn't cut this, and here's why. Instead of making gross generalizations about people's ethnicity and skin color and evoking the shared memories of persecution, which you are doing on purpose, say, look, here's the policy. People. This is persecuting people.
Maybe he just disagrees with you. Does that make him evil?
This country will be persecuted as a result of this. We're cutting the legal services corporation so people won't even be able to have a legal defense for themselves in this country.
You're so overstating it that here's the problem. Here's why I think you're a bad representative for your faith. Because you don't entertain...
You don't know anything about my faith.
I'm saying this. that a prerequisite of decency is to assume, until proved otherwise, goodwill on the part of people who disagree. The people who are reasonable and decent can have a different view from the view I have, and they're still reasonable and decent. We just disagree. You don't seem to entertain that possibility.
Actually, Tucker, I did not attack Donald Trump personally. I attacked this policy.
Ethnic cleansing?
And I said this particular policy is about ethnic cleansing, along with the Muslim ban, along with what he did at Standing Rock with executive orders, letting oil pipelines come through indigenous communities that the white communities in the same area didn't want coming through their areas. While we look at this budget and everything else that's going on.
There are plenty of Indian reservations that have pipelines through them. Are they complicit in ethnic cleansing? Like, how much do you know about this stuff?
If there are indigenous, I was in Standing Rock, so if there are indigenous folk that are saying we don't want this coming through our land because we're concerned about it poisoning our water, then they have every right to do that, and the federal government has a obligation to listen to them and not break treaties.
I think that's a fair point. But what it doesn't mean, and what you need to at least admit it doesn't mean, is that anyone who disagrees is against Indians.
Look, Tucker,
it doesn't mean that. It's not the same as racism to disagree with someone. I'm sorry.
Let me just be plain with you. Right?
I hope you will.
You know what? I'm reminded of John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama talked about America being a city on a hill. And I heard Martin Luther King talk about the beloved community. And he talked about a beloved community where we battled against racism and militarism and materialism, and we created a community where people didn't see diversity as something that's evil, but instead something to be celebrated, something that we could learn from one another, something that we could use to build one another.
Get to the point here, okay?
My point is that this budget goes contrary to the beloved community. This budget goes against being the city on the hill.
But you're making another silly generalization. Look, this is an adult world with hard decisions about specific facts, and you don't have any specific facts.
If you made $30,000 a year and you had a family of 4 and you were trying to survive out there, and all of a sudden you discovered that your medical assistance and your food stamps are getting ready to get cut, how is that going to make you feel?
I think that's a totally fair point. What is unfair is to call anyone who disagrees with you a racist, which is what you're doing. And it makes reasonable
ethnic cleansing. Yes.
Okay. That makes reasonable you ought to.
No,
and it's clearly your policy not to apologize because you don't want to show weakness.
No,
but out of decency, you ought to be it's not prophetic, it's irresponsible.
It absolutely
is. And you ought to bring people together in your capacity as a clergyman, not divide them. Don't lift the Bible in my presence, buddy.
I'm a preacher. This is what I do.
No, not here.
This is what I do. Matthew 25, Jesus talks very clearly about.
You know what? I want to have a conversation about adult
judging
things.
How people are going to be judged. Are you saying faith is not an adult thing? Are you sitting here criticizing faith and saying it's not an adult thing?
Needless to say,
you, sir, ought to be ashamed.
We got to go.
For doing that.
All right. I'm not attacking faith.